presents the ideal opportunity to get a basic will drafted by an attorney for free. Law firms countrywide take part in this annual campaign. By drafting a will, you ensure that your assets are disposed of after your death in accordance with your last wishes. With no will and no clear wishes, this leaves the door open for drama between family members on who should get what from the deceased estate. Mervyn Moodley, a legal expert, is joining us now to give us more about this. Mervyn, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Why is it so important to have a will?
Okay, good afternoon to you and your viewers. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Okay, so there are a number of reasons why having a drafted will is crucial. You would note that the COVID pandemic presented a number of challenges. People were infected, people got seriously ill, and you had people scampering around looking to ensure that their financial affairs were in order, fearing the worst. Now, having a will in place ensures that you are in a position to decide how your hard-earned assets and cash are actually distributed upon your death. In addition to that, there are other considerations that one must bear in mind. For instance, in the event that you have minor children, who would then look after your children in the unfortunate event of your death? In addition to that, passing away without a will would then mean that the Interstate Succession Act applies. Now, the Interstate Succession Act is an act that describes the manner in which your assets are to be distributed in the event of your death without a will. In the event that eventuality arises, the process involved in winding up a deceased estate in terms of the Interstate Succession Act is quite a lengthy process. It's a costly process. So having a will in place would most definitely create a situation where legal costs are minimized. In addition, when drafting a will, you're able to appoint an executor, a responsible person who you entrust to carry out your last wishes upon your death. In addition to that, having a will in place gives you peace of mind. People work all their lives. They have savings that they wish to leave to their loved ones, to their children, to the surviving spouse, brothers or sisters. Having a will in place guarantees that those assets will be distributed to to those persons.
So the will must the will specify everything to say, if you've got several assets, if you're fortunate enough to have many, to say, this one I leave to that one, this one I leave to that one. Does it have to be that specific?
Okay, so the will doesn't have to be that specific. Normally what happens is that a person who creates the will, we refer to this person as a testator. That person has to consider assets of great value, which should be described in the will, and there should be provision for the distribution of those assets upon the person's death. However, there's a clause in the will which is referred to as the residue clause, and that clause basically accommodates all other items of possession that might not necessarily be referred to specifically in the will. Pots and pans, plates and spoons do not have to be specifically mentioned in the will. However, the residue clause would take care of those items of smaller value, basically.
Yeah. Do you also use a will to state what you want to happen to you when you die? For example, maybe you've got traditions and rights that have to be respected, or you might just go the religious route. Do you have to specify that in a will as well to make it easy to have less arguments after you've departed?
Yes, that is often the case. People have people have specific funeral arrangements in mind. There are some people who don't want to, follow the religious route, and they stray from custom. However, the will can accommodate those wishes, and then the executor. The executor then carries, ensures that it's carried out.
Now, finally, Mervyn, who should you appoint or choose or select as an executor?
Okay, so appointment of an executor is quite an important decision. You've got to ensure that the person who you entrust with this function is a person who's able to, to communicate with third parties. The level of understanding has to be there, because the executor may have to deal with queries received from third parties and from the master of the High Court as well. Remember, the master's office will be responsible for, facilitating the whole process of actually winding up a deceased estate. So it should be someone who's close to you, who you trust, and who also has, the intellect to actually deal with queries in the event that, the administration process becomes a bit complex.
Okay, thank you very much, Mervyn, for your time. Please, people must take use of this National Wills Week. Thanks for explaining some of the questions there. Of course, there's many more, but you can address them with a legal expert yourself. And currently this week, it is Wills Week, and for free, you can get a will drafted. That's legal expert Mervyn Moodley. Just about 5:20 on today, in this last hour for our Tuesday edition here on 4-3. We're still waiting, of course, for the arrival in Kwapindangene in KwaZulu-Natal, the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, of the Deputy President of the Republic, Paul Mashatile, to pay respects there.